This is Terrence Andre Banks with Information Age Financial Solutions coming to you about student loans and actually government and student loans. And just when you think things couldn't even get worse, it seems that things can and continue to increase with this crisis. Lawsuit alleges the government is illegally garnishing tax refunds to student loan borrowers. Title alone caught my attention. As always, I put a link inside the description. The government is accused of unlawfully collecting on student loans held by defrauded borrowers. For the past few years, the government has been taking pains to collect on Tamara Blanchard's student loans, garnishing some of the money she receives through her tax refund. But it's debt the government shouldn't be collecting in the first place, a new lawsuit alleges. The suit, filed on behalf of Blanchard and similarly situated borrowers, alleges that Betsy DeVos and the Department of Education are collecting a debt that isn't legally enforceable. That's because the department knows that Blanchard and other students enrolled in the criminal justice program at the Minnesota School of Business, a now defunct for-profit college chain, were defrauded by the school when they signed up the program according to court documents. The suit filed on behalf of Blanchard and similarly situated borrowers alleges the Department of Education collecting debt that isn't legally enforceable. Borrowers who were defrauded by the schools have the right to have their debts discharged. There's this group of students that the Department of Education knows who were defrauded, says Robin Bittner, counselor at the National Student Legal Defense Network, who's representing Blanchard. Despite knowing about them being defrauded, the department has decided to collect on them. It's interesting that they would decide to collect on them because it goes along with it. People really do not know that student loans is one of the main factors for the GDP numbers that we have. But it's really not people don't really pay that much attention to the GDP. But when you have this and putting people in your young population in a place where its loans can never be forgiven, because it depends on the GDP, it's just you want to see more and more things like this, especially as the economy continues to deteriorate. The Department of Education declined to comment on pending litigation. Attorney representing Minnesota School of Business didn't immediately respond to a request for comment on the allegations. The suit is the latest to shine a light on the government's extraordinary powers to collect student debt, including garnishing borrowers, wages, tax refunds, and Social Security checks. Repeat that again. The suit is the latest to shine a light on the government's extraordinary powers to collect student debt, including garnishing borrowers' wages, tax refunds, and Social Security checks. When you have a society that, constantly punishes you to get educated, especially when it's so unaffordable, it's just sad to show you the difficulty and why you need to think about things differently and teach your children and think about you doing things differently as a whole. And the difficulty borrowers may face mitigating those powers even when they have the right to do so. Borrower advocates and even Senator Elizabeth Warren, the Massachusetts Democratic presidential candidate, have complained for years that the government collects on student loans that aren't legally enforceable because borrowers were defrauded. Borrowers and advocates have also alleged that the government illegally collect on debt that they have a right to have discharged because of a disability. Wow. They've been going after it because a disability, even when I was working for the nonprofit, especially in the student loan area, disability was one of the hopeful signs. If you can show disability, you can have your student loan discharged. But it seems like, if I'm reading this correctly, that's become even more difficult as well. In Blanchard's case, the Department of Education has confirmed and expanded upon state court findings that a school misrepresented the ability of students enrolled in this criminal justice program to get jobs and transfer their credits, ultimately banning the school from assessing federal financial aid according to court documents. Blanchard experienced these tactics firsthand, the suit alleges, when Blanchard began taking courses at the Minnesota School of Business in 2009. She was hoping this degree and the thousands of dollars she borrowed to make it possible would help her start a new life. The waitress and single mom wanted to become a probation officer and was promised by a representative at the school that this associate degree program in criminal justice would help her achieve the goal according to court documents. But in Minnesota, probation officers are required to have at least a bachelor's degree. At the time, the school didn't offer a bachelor's degree program in criminal justice, the suit alleges. In addition, the school representative told Blanchard she could easily transfer credits to another school. Statements the Department of Education later found to be a misrepresentation. In 2015, Blanchard had left the school, returned to a job as a waitress, and defaulted on her student loans, which is a January 2019 total of $29,418, plus nearly $6,000 collection fees, according to court documents. Despite knowing she had been a victim of fraud, the government continues to collect on her debt, including by taking at least $1,960 $906 are a tax refund in 2017, the student alleges. The harm is ongoing, Bittner said. Blanchard's story is just one of thousands of borrowers who are facing challenges in the wake of the collapse of for-profit colleges. Over the past several years, multiple for-profit college chains have collapsed amid allegations they misled students about job placement and graduation rates. Amid pressure from activists, the Obama-era Department of Education established a process borrowers who were defrauded could use to have their debt discharged. The DeVos Department of Education attempted and unsuccessfully to rewrite the regulation governing this process, known as borrower's defense. Meanwhile, claims for debt cancellation the department needs to improve have languished at the leg agency. As I said before, student loans are a big part of the GDP numbers, and when that is your gross domestic product, and that's one of your bigger factors, it's becoming even more and more difficult for you to get rid of the student loans. You have to do things differently. There's so much, especially in the information age where education is virtually free, you have to think about things differently and come up with different ways of getting that education without killing yourself financially to take on something that is an old adage that doesn't even, as becoming more and more applicable, doesn't become applicable in this day and age. If this video has been of any value to you, please subscribe, leave some comments. Until my next video, I'm out.